So I thought it would be interesting to try to understand how the Russians were processing the elimination of their general in Moscow. I mean, that was in their capital city. The war is supposed to be far, far away. So I didn't have to look very far. The Russian media monitor found Solovyov and others talking about it, ranting about it, and you're going to see what they have to say. So special thanks to the Russian media monitor as always. So here we go. I'll just read his words and we'll get going. This is a big loss. I saw Igor Antonovich yesterday. We were talking. There were rumors that a high military rank would be awarded, a colonel general. So for your information, he was a lieutenant general. That's a 4-star equivalent in the US Army. So in their system, that would be a higher rank than where he already was. He was a phenomenal man. He was tremendously modest and charming. Today, I spoke with the wife of Igor Anatolyevich. I can't bring myself to call her a widow. His wife has an ironclad character and an iron will. She did not shed a single tear. He headed the radiation, chemical, and biological protection forces. He lived extremely modestly. Now, that's an interesting nuance there, that he lived modestly. So maybe he wasn't on the take, even if he was full of propaganda. Maybe he wasn't just full on corrupt like other generals have been. Nobody guarded him. His assistant, Ilya Polikarpov, and his driver were with him. Why? Because it's not supposed to be done. Well, you are at war and you're not supposed to be doing what you're doing to the Ukrainians. 42% of civilian deaths in Ukraine were from Russian drones in November. So this shouldn't be happening either. He's a uniformed service person, and while you didn't expect it to happen, he's a legal combatant. It's not spelled out since there is no war here. Well, not yet to the degree that you're going to really feel it. But the longer this goes on, the more Ukraine is going to be pummeling Russia. When they have their long-range rockets, when they can assemble and produce and send them out, it'll happen. There's no war in Moscow. So he wasn't being protected. So this was really interesting. So Greg Terry and I were talking about this just the other day. And we were saying, well, it was easy to slip in and out. The people look similar. They can both speak Russian. Ukrainians generally can speak Russian as well. And so it's easy to slip in and out. It's harder to do this in Kyiv because it leaves Kyiv like they're all looking around, knowing that there's a war there. But in Moscow, it seems like it would be a much easier thing to inflict on the Russians. Igor Anatolyevich was probably our most famous commander in the West. Well, yeah, but not for good reasons. It's because he comes up with all kinds of nutty things. His brilliant, precise, and verified presentations were neither brilliant nor precise nor verified. They were talking about combat mosquitoes and biolabs and spreading propaganda. Have ruined many Western provocations, starting with white helmets down to their labs and their use of chemical weapons, which is so fascinating. He's talking about their use of chemical weapons when it's the Russians that have used chemical weapons. 48, I think, 42 or 48, I don't remember, 100 counts of use of this chemical weapons so this general was indicted for using chemical weapons the day before this actually happened. And yet they're saying it's about the other side. This is what they do very regularly. It was not coincidental that the British sanctioned him. Now, he's going to go off the reservation here in just a little bit. Listen to this train of reasoning. They feared him. He was a globally recognized scientist. It was impossible to argue with him. I don't believe that Ukraine carried out a T act. What? So it wasn't Ukraine that did it? Like, this is how they're reasoning with this. It couldn't have been Ukraine. They're so weak and bad. It couldn't have been them. No, of course not. Igor Antolyevich recently called me and scoffed at being sanctioned by the British. And not just the sanctions. This is a classic British assassination. Wait a minute. Don't you have somebody from Uzbekistan in custody? So officially they have someone in Uzbekistan in custody, but on this, they're saying the British did it. What? You can see that this is a signature move of the British Special Services. in the way it was organized. I can't rule out that the networks of British agents were used. Let me remind you that all of Navalny's dirtbags always worked very closely with the embassies and MI6. Now, he's off in conspiracy theory land here. It's so weird to watch. Their hallmark style is immediately evident. Every special service has its signature style. It's quite easy to recognize. Okay, so that's how Solovyov is wrestling with what happened here. Now, the Russians are really kind of freaked out from everything that I can detect about this because they never expected to see that coming. It's kind of like the mental like, whoa, what just happened that uh, Hezbollah was experiencing after the Israeli pager incident. So that's what I have here. And so tell me what you think about. So tell me what you think about what you just saw here. Now, at the same time, I also want to update you. It is now about 12:30 p.m. on Sunday. Last night at 6 p.m., Greg Terry and I rolled out our NAFO campaign for drones, and we had a $30,000 goal, 30,500, and it just blew past it. I mean, right now it's $34,103.07 has been donated. Thank you so much. We're not going to close the campaign. We're going to keep going until Christmas at midnight and just see how many drones we can supply to the 54th Mechanized Brigade. And so what's going on here is these are reconnaissance drones. They're much better drones than the little tiny drones that are, the little FPV drones. And we're just going to provide them with as many as we can get them for Christmas. If you feel like donating, I'll put the link below. It'll be the only link in this video. So last Christmas, we got together and provided humanitarian aid, tourniquets and gauze and bandages, things along those lines. This year, what the great need is FPV drones to see what they can't see so that they can, and again, the goal here is to protect Ukrainian soldiers' lives. So if they can have the eyes in the sky to see where the bad guys are, that will be very, very helpful to their survival. Now, the same brigade got one of our armored vehicles last year, our armored ambulances, and that's saving lives as well. So we designed the patch with this in mind, right? Guardian angels, eyes in the sky. So if you want to be part of that, the link is below. Thank you for your time. I'll keep you updated on where we are later in the day. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the likes, the shares, and the subscribes. And thank you more than anything else for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.